Top of the morning to you. Woo!
Hi, Peter.
How are you, my dear?
I'm good. I'm just like so excited, and I'm gonna try to keep my mouth shut a little bit more than I did with our beautiful friend Low Rocks last week, because I get really excited.
Come on, express yourself. No holding
Lots
back.
I want to talk about with you, but everybody, this is my friend PeterCrone, and I am so excited to talk to you today, Peter. And
It's a pleasure to be with you.
yeah,
I love the glasses too.
Oh, well, it's good because I can't see much without them, so they're terrible. But I'm just so happy to have you. Let's let a couple people roll in before
We can talk about the weather. I don't know if anything major is going on in the world we can talk about.
I will talk about my weather in Montana today is like spectacular, and what a difference that makes in my mood. I've already gotten out from my morning run, and
Beautiful.
Woo, yeah, so it's good.
One place I've never visited, which I feel very remiss in the fact that I've never been there. You have to invite me sometime.
You're invited. Come.
Okay. That was a little quick.
Something here. We should get our little gang, our little tribe together and do something here in Montana.
That would be so fun.
A whole other conversation. Okay?
Next live at your place.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. Maybe not my place, because the complete and utter chaos is going on at any moment with my kids in my house.
All right. We'll find a decent spot.
We'll find a great spot.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, everyone that's just joined us, this is my friend PeterCrone, who is just such a gift to this world. And I'll just kick it off. I sent you a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which you graciously just put your arms around and said, great, let's just see where the wind takes us.
We'll go with the flow.
I don't doubt you can. I mean, I'm sure you can cover any topic thrown to you. I know you can, because I've watched many of your videos and things. But I met Peter in Goop Health last year, and I had the pleasure of hearing you speak in a very intimate small group, which was just so beautiful and completely resonated with me, as you do with everyone, I feel like. And I felt compelled to raise my hand and share a story when you opened that up to the small group. And that was about my friend who passed away, who I talk about often, who I always will. So if that's annoying to some people, I'm sorry, but not sorry. She's very inspirational. And a big reason I do this, because my best friend passed away at 26, and you taught me instantly to reframe that, not to, I lost my best friend, but my best friend passed away, and how, it's not just my loss. It's not, so in about 3 minutes of talking to you, I already reframed my thinking, and I still use that in my writing and when I talk about things. And I know you are an astute listener, so I'm very careful today with my words. But
I'm a good listener, but I'm not a judge, so you can fumble your way through it. It's fine.
You are certainly not a judge, and it's great that you hear every word, because that's how we learn, right? And that's how we grow, is to learn how to reframe things. But so then you found me after, and you said, I loved your story, and we had a great connection. And then I found out you're good friends with my dear friend Lauren and her husband Gus. And
love Lauren.
Anyway, so me too. She's a gift, as are you. So that's kind of our background. And let's see. I'm going to let you talk about yourself. I will say that I've done a lot of reconnaissance, and you started out as a personal trainer to the stars and athletes, and did that for many years. And then 18 years ago, you switched to the...
Pretty much, 19 years ago,
And Peter is now known as the Mind Architect, which I love.
Architect,
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
Tell everybody
about my transition. So I was always fascinated with. Firstly, thank you for having me on. I'm a big fan of yours, and I know you've done some great stuff with Lauren. So, and I love more than anything your the purity of your intention. You know, like that's, I think, the thing that I find most appealing is how much you genuinely just want to help people. So, especially in your sort of tribe and your demographic.
Thank you.
So just acknowledge that.
Thank you.
I'm getting a bit of feedback, so I hope people can hear us okay. But anyway.
Someone let us know, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll turn down my volume in case that's making a difference. So, yes, I mean, I've always been fascinated with these sort of deep, meaningful questions about who are we, why are we here, and these more philosophical topics. So even though when I was a trainer, I was always really fascinated by why people would do what they would do. And I recognized that the most powerful part of a human being is really the lens through which we look, right? So perspective is the precursor to our own reality. And whilst most people are constantly trying to change reality, the circumstances of their lives, which is both exhausting and futile, I recognize, well, wait a minute, if you change your perception, then all of a sudden, whatever it is that you thought needed to be different is totally fine as it is. Or put in a simple term, Marcel Proust, one of my favorite authors, he has a quote where he says, the journey of true discovery lies not in finding new lands, but in looking through new eyes. And so why that to me is so profound is because most people are focused, you know, we have these senses, so it pulls us naturally outward. We're under the impression that somebody over there is why we're upset because of what they did. It's very natural, it's very human, but really it's the way that we look at things that give us our experience. And so if we have some mastery over our lens, now all of a sudden we have some mastery over life without having to control life, right? When people have control issues and they're victims of circumstance, they're under the impression that I need things to be a certain way in order for me to be okay. But that's, you know, that's exhausting.
Okay, so we are having sound issues. So I'm deep in thought with that, but everyone's saying something's off. I wonder if we should try to connect again. Can everyone hear me? Let's do that.
It's
and
the
then,
mic.
They're saying they can hear me. Can you hear Peter? Peter, say something.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Is it on my side? Because
can you hear people are saying yes now? Yes?
Yeah, okay.
Can you hear Peter? Can you hear me?
Come in, Houston. We have a problem.
We have a problem. Okay, everyone's saying yes now. Maybe it corrected itself.
There's definitely a little crackle I can hear in the background, but anyway.
Okay, I think let's proceed because that was okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's why I was so passionate about getting into this field, is that I realized that the real power of impact in terms of our experience of life is this lens that we look through. And so that's why I started my company back then, Be Alive. And, you know, the whole mind architect, I actually had the title many, many years ago, and it sort of came and went. But now the last few years, it's really stuck. And why I liked it is because I was called a spiritual teacher for a long time, or a happiness guru. And even though I could say I'm a spiritual philosopher, I'm really helping people tap into the essence of who we are beyond the illusion of our human form. The mind architect just sort of, it was unique because it generated inquiry, right? It's not like a typical moniker or a title that people have heard. So they're like, oh, what's that? So now it opens up a conversation versus it being an assumption that's already contaminated with meaning. Oh, he's a spiritual teacher. You know, he probably smokes ganja and wears robes. You know, it's sort of, which of course I do every day. So mind architecture really was, I'm looking, so it helps people see, okay, well, it's something to do with the mind, so they got that part, and then the architecture is really helping to redesign your inner thinking space, and specifically these deep constructs of the subconscious where we're in a sort of very innocent way confined without our own knowing. And this is why people have the tendency to repeat habits and patterns that they maybe don't like, and they don't quite understand why. So I sort of help people to see, no, it's because you're living in this invisible cage. So there's no judgment because you're oblivious. But if we can bring awareness to that, now you suddenly have some access to power over the otherwise, you know, natural tendencies, but that are usually self-sabotaging.
Yes, my gosh. And we all have them. Okay, they're saying it's still bad on your end, Peter. I wonder if you want to, do you have an earbud you could
Yeah,
put
let
in?
me put my, actually, I have them on me. Maybe that'll help.
Let's just try that, because they're saying it's, I mean,
Still,
of course it's you, not me. I'm just, you know.
of course, it's always my fault.
Oh, it's someone else.
And I can't believe that. That was literally some of the most incredible things I've ever said in my life, and it's all gone.
I know. I think that might be there. We might have captured a little of that.
I'm kidding. It wasn't that good.
It was good.
That's all right. Okay. We're getting there. These things are always just such a... it's like crochet here with my headbutt.
Oh,
okay.
I know. Here,
let's see. I'll pop this in.
Let's hope I don't
yeah,
have
that
to...
looks...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How's that? Is that any better?
Okay. Can everybody give me...
I can certainly hear you actually a little clearer. Sounds perfect. You cut your hair. No, I didn't. No one came to my house and cut my hair, Courtney. They used shears. It was from a distance. 6 foot.
Yeah. Okay, can everyone hear us? Can everyone hear Peter?
Much better. Much better.
Much better.
Okay, maybe you should do yours.
Better. Maybe. Except my problem is I have my phone sitting on something and I don't think it can handle the little notch underneath. Okay, they're all saying better.
Much better. Okay. Much better. So let's carry on. We're good.
So carry on.
Perfect.
Remember where you were?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was my go? Oh, sorry. I was going to take a breather with a smoothie. Well,
hold on.
Over large smoothie.
I want to let them know about your course right now, which I, in full disclosure, have not taken yet, but it's on my queue and I'm going to, and I need it as much as everyone else does. But your Free Your Mind course, and you're offering a free one, and this is
a giveaway. Yes.
So talk about that real quick. And we'll do that again, and then we'll begin with that. But.
Yeah. I just for fun, because I've been doing all these lives and honestly the response has been so amazing and people have been so sweet with their messages. So I said, look, just for fun, when you're on a live, capture a little bit of video, in this case, me and Wendy, or take a screenshot and then post it in a story, tag both of us. And then, you know, people have been super creative. It's fun. And I'll just pick a winner. And it's just my way of trying to contribute something to people who are struggling. And because there's only one winner, we actually created a page so everyone, quote unquote, wins with some free material, which is just PeterCrone.com/live. So I think we actually have all of my lives on there and then some other content. So PeterCrone.com/live, and then otherwise screenshot or take some video, put it in a story, and I'll give the Free Your Mind course to somebody.
Perfect. And I will post links in my stories for you today for the sign-ups for the free one, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll make it. The noise is back. That's so weird.
Oh, back.
I wonder if
Do you want to go off and come back on?
Well, I feel like we only have an hour too, and I'm really got a lot to cram in here with you. So we can
go again next week.
We can start the 60 minutes over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's end. Do you want
so everybody, just reboot.
Or actually, you know what? Hold on.
Oh, something got clearer.
Okay. Is that better?
It's certainly better for me.
Better for me. Okay. Everyone's saying keep going, keep going.
Okay. Start again, keep going. That's not that bad.
Okay.
Okay.
But you can hear me better, Peter, right?
So. Oh, that sounds really clear to me. Yeah, much better.
Not
the crackling's
that bad.
gone.
It's not that bad. Keep going. Okay.
Are they talking about this or coronavirus?
I didn't know. I don't know. They're talking about you or me? Which he's not
coronavirus.
That bad,
it's not that bad. Keep going.
Keep going.
Because I'm with that person.
Well, actually, that's kind of a motto too, isn't it? Keep going. Good Lord. Okay.
Okay.
So
where were we?
We were the free course, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Again, because you're offering a free course, and I think that's amazing and so generous. And okay, so. Were you going somewhere? Can I ask another question?
No, you go. You go. I love your questions.
Okay. So well, this isn't really a question. It's more of a, like, I really researched you and your background, and you have not had an easy life. You lost your mother at 7. You lost your father at 17. You had your heart broken a few years after that. And I love that about you.
Thank you.
Because I love all people, and I can look at people through the same lens and just appreciate people. I really can. But people that have been through shit and like licked their wounds and pulled up their bootstraps and gotten better and learned from that. And that is you. And I love that about you. So I just want everyone to be really clear that here's this beautiful man inside and out who seemingly has this perfect life, which you have a great life, but you really worked hard to get there. And
thank you. Yeah.
And you dug deep, and so talk about that a little bit, and how I think we all, and my point behind this is, I know I suffer still from things from my childhood. We all have triggers. They're all coming out now. The lights are on, as I'm saying. The mirrors are right here, foggy at all times.
100%.
And so talk about, I guess, your own experience and how you overcame that, how you got to be such a healthy individual, you know, in spite of what happened to you. Yeah. Makes sense.
So firstly, thank you so much. It does mean a lot to me. I think people sometimes misconstrue me as this guy who's just uber confident and just is loving life. And as you said, like lives a very big life, helping the rich and famous around the world. But there's a sensitive boy inside of me too, you know, and I am very empathetic, and I do have my soft side, you know, in terms of my own experience of life, right? Like I am sensitive to things, even if I've learned to not take things personally. So thank you for acknowledging that. It means a lot. I have, you know, been blessed to have a lot of support, whether it be my own intuition, my own insights, the way my mind works, or just beautiful friends and people throughout the years to help me transcend and overcome some of these hardships. So yes, my mom dying at 7, I don't know if I ever processed that properly, because as a 7-year-old, how do you understand that? It's very confusing. Right. But my dad was tough, because I'm 17. And even though now looking back in hindsight, you know, when you're 17, you're like, oh, you're almost an adult. But boy, are we just so immature. And so, but it was only he and I, you know, my mum had already passed. So that really had an impact on the experience of loss, which I know obviously is something you wanted to speak to today. So that was very difficult for a while. And I don't think I really processed it properly till I was sort of in my early 30s, which is actually when I started my company. So about, you know, sort of 12, 13 years after the fact, I can remember just sobbing for like a good hour plus, just realizing how much I missed him. And I hadn't really allowed that, you know, I just gotten on with life. And so during the course of that dozen years, and then subsequent to that, for sure, yes, I delved deep into all of these Eastern philosophies, any kind of spiritual practice. I studied Ayurveda, became an Ayurvedic practitioner, which is steeped in these traditions of like legitimate healing, not, you know, sort of external, exogenous, like pharmaceutical healing. And
that's a whole other conversation.
That's a very big topic of conversation. Anyway, yeah. So it hasn't, you know, look, I mean, I don't think I'm special. I think everybody has their cross to bear and everybody has hardship. The thing that actually breaks my heart more than anything is, yes, you could say I went through hardship. But it's when children, particularly children, I really have a bit of you know, an extra soft spot, is when children are abused in any way. You know, I've never been in a fight. You know, I was at a very athletic focused college. And so as a competitive, testosterone, like riddled, you know, 18 to 20-year-old, I never got into like a shove match or a fight. It's just not my nature. I'm definitely a lover, not a fighter. But boy, if I saw somebody hurting a child or an animal, I'm sort of scared what could come out of me, you know? So my point being that, yes, I went through a lot, but people go through a lot I would consider worse. And that's not to make myself a martyr, but I think it does allow me to have context and a lot more compassion, you know, just because of my own experience and the heartache and the fear and the experience of loss. So I think that's a very big component of my work, is my capacity to really get what somebody's feeling, you know, like I really get it. And that allows me to have patience and compassion with people. So, but yeah, it's an interesting journey, this dimension of planet Earth and being human and why we're here. And I have my esoteric conversations about it, and that we are here to reconcile our fears and inadequacies. And I feel blessed that I feel I've transcended most of mine. I'm not saying they're all gone, but it's what allows me to be so free and to impact the lives of others.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that was my point exactly, is that you've been through it, you've felt it, like you truly have compassion and empathy in most situations, you know? I mean, we can't have gone through everything everyone's gone through, but you know, we've all been through hardships and they're all their own. And I do love that. And I'm thinking about this a lot lately, that quote or whatever that says, you know, acknowledge the reality of other people's feelings, because even though they're not yours, they're theirs. And that's all they're capable of hurting over or feeling bad about. And especially with my teenagers and my kids, but with adults too. And I think that's really important. But I love that about you. I love that you've been through that.
And it does it reconciles and mitigates all judgment. You know, when I did one of my first big podcasts with Drew on Broken Brain, which is still their #1 by 2 or 3-fold anyone else, which is very humbling. But I spoke to the illusion of judgment. I said, you know, when we make other people wrong, and this was one of my first profound lessons, as I was dating someone at the time, and I've always been the quintessential perfect boyfriend on the surface, even though much of that was a masquerade to compensate for my own beliefs of inadequacy. But I was never like a dick. I was never mean. I've always been very loving and generous. So even my giving of flowers, you know, was sometimes just my way of like hoping to be loved and accepted, right? So it's, anyway, the point is, I noticed I was making her wrong subtly for something, like her tendency towards wanting to try drugs and I've just never been a drug guy. I've just never tried anything. And so there was a bit of judgment, and I realized, holy shit, you know, like, who am I to make anyone wrong? I don't know what they've been through that is giving rise to their choice at this moment. Their behaviors are a direct extension of everything they've been through, everything they've heard, the conditioning from their parents, their DNA. And so when it really hit me, it's just a logical thing. It's not even a moral thing. It's just logical that if you had someone's DNA and you were raised by their parents, you went to the school they went to, you had the failures that they had, you were bullied or you weren't picked for the team, you had the love and the heartbreak, then you would be making the choice that you're currently making. And that to me breeds so much kindness and patience and compassion. And so that's where I got to a place where I just absolutely eradicated any judgment in my life, you know. So it does allow us to truly listen and let people have their reality. It doesn't mean that we condone it, and it doesn't mean that we have to accept it, but at least we can understand it. And that gives for an entirely different form of relationship with other people.
Totally. The lack of judgment is everything. And, you know, it certainly changed my life when I stopped judging, when I stopped expecting, you know, when I stopped all those things, which I still, you know, I'm not perfect either. And
come on,
I have good days and bad days. But speaking of that, well, two things. One, to all those topics, I love what you say, that you don't solve problems, you dissolve problems. And I love that. That's so powerful to me, because solving it can be temporary, right? Maybe that's the big piece of it, but you don't solve them, you dissolve them. And I love that. And so, and then my question for you too, having bad days and good days and all that I was just talking about, do you ever have a bad day? And bad might be the wrong word.
What a dumb question.
And what? So I guess
no
judgment.
No judgment.
What
sort of idiot are you?
You know, I know. But what do you do when, you know, if you wake up and you go, okay, wait a minute, I'm feeling like a little today. What are your tools to, and I'm saying that especially because we're all feeling that now, at least
for sure,
you know, it's like this, I'm on this roller coaster of, but I know when I meditate and when I exercise and when I get sun and when I do some Wim Hof and do these things, you know, I'm better. So absolutely. Is it that simple? How do you motivate yourself to do it?
Great question. So sort of 3 parts, right? So the first part, dissolve versus solve, I just want to speak to because it's a profound distinction, which is, you know, experts with all the best intentions in the world, so again, no judgment, are invariably, whether they be a psychiatrist, a psychologist, an astrologer, a doctor, you know, a human will present with whatever they think their issue is: anxiety, depression, addiction, you know, relationship woes. And it's very human for us to like suddenly believe what someone's telling us and then want to try and help them. Beautifully intended, but in totally inaccurate approach as far as I'm concerned, because nobody has a problem. They just have a lens they're looking through, which is revealing something unresolved that's already within them. Hence my point about dissolution versus solution. Because you can solve something, and yes, you may get transitory relief, but until you actually get to the root cause of why somebody is feeling distress or dis-ease in the first place, then it's always going to represent at some point, you know, whether it's a week later, a month later, you know, The Biggest Loser, right? I spoke to the producers of NBC this was years ago now. I was at a keynote and one of the main producers came to listen and she's like, oh my God, I love your approach. We wish we'd had someone like you in the house to help these people lose weight, but really to change their identity. And I said, yeah, I guarantee you most of them went back to their weight. She said, yeah, the return rate is ridiculous. It's like in 90%. Somebody loses 100, 200 pounds, but then 3-5 years later, they're back because they haven't changed their relationship to their idea of themselves. So the same feeling of woe, inadequacy led to the same need for food to get some sort of relief or escapism or comfort. Anyway, you get the point. So that's why dissolution to me is, it's recognizing that we universally, we already have beliefs of inadequacy, insecurity, and scarcity as part of our makeup. And then we develop survival sort of patterns and these behavioral adaptations to compensate, right? So a people pleaser or a perfectionist, that is a behavioral adaptation to the already deep-seated belief of inadequacy. Otherwise, why do you have to do that? So now someone could complain that they're exhausted and their adrenals are shot. And so now the Hashimoto's and someone's giving them, you know, pharmaceutical products or diagnosing the problem, but not getting to the root cause that, oh, because at 5, your sister got more accolades than you did, you started to believe that you weren't enough. And ever since then, you've been exhausted and you've drained yourself. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? So
I know what you're saying because I've wrestled these demons my whole life.
I choose my case studies very, very consciously.
Yes, I'm sure. I am sure. I am sure.
So anyway, the point is, if we can reverse engineer it back to the deep-seated beliefs of inadequacy or insecurity, because ultimately, what are humans looking for? We're looking for some sense of security externally. We want to get some sense of value, appreciation, or acknowledgement, or we want to get some sense of love. These are the things that we look for. But the thing is, we externalize them. And so even when we find them, now we become attached to them, which is then why we experience loss when they go. You know, so the job gives us the illusion of security. The partner gives us the illusion of love, right? The status or the title gives us the illusion of self-worth. But if any of those things are removed, then all of a sudden we're left feeling shitty about ourselves. And I'm like, no. You already had the version of insecurity, and then you sort of had this Band-Aid external application of something, but now you become dependent and reliant and attached to that thing, which is also leaving you very vulnerable. So anyway, that's the first part, dissolve, not solve. The second part, do I have hard days? Look, I'm human, but I don't classify it as a hard day because I've got so much freedom that I allow myself to feel fatigue. I allow myself to feel a little bit of absence of, you know, drive, or like if I'm not motivated for the day, I used to beat the shit out of myself and say I should be more productive. Whereas now I'm just not motivated, right? Yeah. So it's the love, true love embraces it all. It doesn't have judgment. So earlier saying non-judgment, to me, sort of the bedfellow of non-judgment really is love, right? It's like it's all embracing. There's no agenda. So I still have my physiological experience of life, right? Like meaning that maybe I didn't sleep so well. And so for that reason, my workout doesn't feel that appealing this morning. And maybe I'm just going to forgo it and not beat myself up about it, you know? Yeah. The only thing that does upset me, if we get into the emotional realm, which is very rare now, is things like what's going on today, right? And by that, I mean, I, as a very sensitive human being who really wants to appeal to the goodness in people, I really struggle with humans who are consciously doing harm. And by that, I mean making choices that are not for the good of people. Now, again, this starts to get into conspiracy theory, right? So it's not really where I want to go with this. But there are people in positions of power with a lot of wealth, or in, you know, whether it's government organizations, whose primary motive is to make money at all costs. And so I believe, and maybe I'm an idealist, you know, I just feel that we can all win. You know, we don't need to sacrifice people's vitality, whether it be mandates of vaccines that have never been tested or whatever's going on, right? Like, and I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm just anti-harm, you know? And so that's the only thing that does make me sad sometimes, is like, why do, and it sort of sounds like the voice of a child, but it's like, why do people have to be so mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I mean, I don't.
I just, you know, it's like, I mean, can't we all just get along, to quote whoever that was? You know, I forgot the guy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that makes me sad sometimes, is that, you know, there is a dark energy on the planet. And again, because of the world of duality, there kind of has to be. Mm-hmm. And so I might dip into that for a minute and feel a little bit apathetic in my day and go, gosh, you know, I personally, like many people like you, like my tribe, my friends, my clients, we are all doing everything we can to make a difference. We come from love. No one's perfect. Everyone's doing the best they can. But the underlying intention is to help people, to make the world a better place, to bring love, to up, you know, sort of our frequency, to inspire vitality. And so when I feel like watching TV, which I never do, but now, you know, I'm keeping an eye on things, and you can just feel the pretense. You can feel the lies. You can feel the manipulation. And that to me is like, gosh, really? You know, are we really not that far as a species that we're still willing to corrupt and manipulate?
It's astonishing.
It's just like, oh my God, you know. And the irony of that is that human beings think we're the most evolved species. And I'm like, oh my God, we're just so far away from that, you know? I used to quote with, I've forgotten one live I did, you know, like I don't give in to any religion. I let people have whatever they want to choose, but I think spirituality unites, you know, and if you want to believe in Buddha or Christ or Krishna, you know, have at it. I think they all got beautiful tenets. But I think Jesus's quote was, you know, I use with a little bit of tongue in cheek, which is love thy neighbor as thyself. And I said, it's a beautiful idea, but how many people do you know that love themselves? That's why you hate your neighbor.
I know.
Right?
That's so true.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful intention, but until you learn to love yourself, like really, warts and all, and all you're not going to love your neighbor. Hence why on the big scale, because we're dealing with leaders, whether it be corporation, you know, I'm not pointing to anyone in particular, but just generally people in positions of power who can push policy, or they can have mandates, or they have the control with wealth, who don't love themselves, really, like understanding the essence of love, of life, the reverence and respect for humanity, that they don't love their neighbors. And so they have this intention of its wealth and its power. And anyway, you know, that's a whole deeper topic, but that's the second part of your question.
Spot on. That's spot on. Yeah.
Is why sometimes, excuse me, I will have that moment of, you know, just a bit of sadness for sometimes the state of humanity. But I afford myself that because I care. Oh, she's gone. She's been drinking.
No, not yet.
So that's the second part. And then the third part, like, what tools do I use? You know, I think like you pointed to self-care, right? Like it's sort of relentless at one point. You know, sometimes it can be, oh my God, really? I got to work out again. I got to do my infrared sauna. I got to do my cold plunge, you know? And so these are the tools that I go to. The very basic fundamentals, the primal needs of a human being in terms of good food, hydration, quality sleep, some breathing exercises, some movement. You know, they're not that complicated, but it does require commitment. You know, I used the metaphor the other day, again on a live. I said, have you ever been to a gym, you know, and you see people in there who are just like incredible shape? You know, they're just stunning, they're sculpted, they're ripped. And, you know, most people go, yeah, you know, especially here in Los Angeles. And I make the point, I say, do you notice they're still at the gym? They're still going, you know, and it's sort of,
I saw that actually.
It speaks to the fact that the work never ends, you know, and at times that can be a little bit overwhelming, or it can just be like, okay, man up and deal with it.
I think you're right. And you know, back to what you said about you sort of just let yourself have these days. And I'm finally to that point now where about 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, I was literally paralyzed. I just got up and I said, I don't want to do anything today, you know? And my husband said, then take the day. Yeah. Don't do anything. Go read your book. I got the kids. I got whatever. Right. And I'm lucky that I have that. I am so lucky on so many levels, and those that know me know that, but just to say that, but, and I just let myself not work out and not do the breath work and have one glass of wine at 3 o'clock or whatever it was. And if you just acknowledge that, you don't feel like you're losing. You almost feel like you're winning because you've allowed yourself to be human.
The one thing I would ask people to look at is, because sometimes, even though we're fatigued, it can be like there can be pressure that we have to do something. So I love the fact you recognize, no, I'm just going to put my feet up and take a nap or have a glass of wine. In Ayurveda, one of my favorite parts of Ayurveda is the 6 stages of disease. And I talked about it in the documentary Heal that I was in.
I watched that, yeah.
So the first stage is accumulation. Now, what does that mean? It means that we hold on to something energetically, emotionally, physiologically. So actually, one of the greatest ways to access the energy of vitality and being driven for the day again is like, not so much what do I have to do or add on, but what am I already holding on to? So invariably, the access to freedom is a release of something versus the adornment of something, right? And it's subtle. Yes.
That's
so the dissolution. Yeah, that's the dissolution process.
Say that again.
Okay, so invariably, the access to freedom and motivation is invariably the release of something, not the adornment of something.
So good.
Right? We often think we need something, and invariably my assertion is no, you're feeling a little flat, you have a slight malaise, you're feeling unmotivated because you're holding on to something. If you think about holding, imagine walking through an airport, many, many years ago. You and I can relate to this, showing our age. Before we had trolley, you had to carry your bags, right? And by the time you got to the gate, your freaking shoulders and arms are exhausted because of the actual energy of having to hold. Now, if you think about that emotionally, that's why most people are exhausted, because there's the accumulation, the holding of something invariably emotionally over decades, which then gets into the slippery slope of why people have autoimmune disease and sicknesses, because dis-ease, meaning the absence of ease emotionally, is the precursor to physiological disease over time. The point is, when you don't feel great, do a little bit of introspection. What is it I'm holding on to? Is it the disappointment I had in myself from a week ago? Is it the argument I had with a friend yesterday and I'm still sort of processing or holding? That is invariably what's in the way of the natural life force and vitality that is always wanting to flow through us. So
yes, I love that. And it's hard for people. I mean, I know I can speak from experience too. I didn't have a super cruisy, easy life, but I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, but it's hard for people because, correct me if I'm wrong, because you see it all, and I see a lot too, just in my little community and the conversations I have. And I'm not a therapist or I'm, full disclosure, but, it's hard for people to let go of things that make them uncomfortable because they're so used to being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And holding on to those heavy straps from the bags, metaphorically, that like, oh my God, I can't let go of this. Like, I don't know any different, right? So breaking through those barriers and getting to a point of freedom, it's really hard because I spent a really good portion of my life worrying. And if the thought left my head that I was worrying about and I couldn't remember what it was, I was so uncomfortable. Like I had to go seek out something else to worry about or hold on to from my childhood, from my past, from my right. So and I know your course. Let's just say that again. That you're giving away a free course to someone who posts a snippet of this video
or a screenshot,
or a screenshot, and tags me, whatever. But this course, I can't wait to do the course. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. And by the time we talk next, which I hope we can,
I will
have done that. But anyway, back to that, like. I watched your interview with Alyssa Goodman because she's also a friend and I love her so much, and I'm having her on a live soon. But you guys were talking about when you said, look, if you want your mom to comfort you, go to your mom. I'm not that. It's a gut punch. You're going to get the reality with me, which I feel like we're getting today. But gut punch, is the like, there it is, release the crap. Right? And what are a couple of tools people can, because I think we're all looking deeply at ourselves now. We are forced to. We are in these situations that are testing our patience where, some people don't have human touch right now, which we all need to start letting go. We're all like having What are some
so
little
beautiful
tools
points.
people can, yeah.
Beautiful points. So I think I want to address the first one, which, you know, it is so seductive and so slippery to your point, which is the ego's number one priority is to be right. But what it wants to be right about is its own identity. Now, if you really get that, so what does that mean? That is self-fulfilling prophecy, self-sabotage, these terms that people use, because the number one priority is for the existence of the ego to be sustained, which means that it has to be right about its own inadequacy, its own insecurity. See, I told you that wouldn't work. That was too good to be true. Think about these expressions that people use. What are you actually doing? What are you actually saying? I'm right about the fact that my life isn't working. I'm right about the fact that I'm inadequate. Do you see? I like to use humor, as you know, with a lot of my work. And I'm like, wow, that's so inspiring. You get to be right about your own fucking insecurities. That's amazing. You know? Yeah, congratulations. Yeah. So that, to your first point, is yes, it's very scary for people to let go of those things that have defined them for usually decades. But it is freedom. This is my whole work, you know, is I help people access freedom on the other side of the constraints of the subconscious. That is the premise of my whole work. It is the premise of my book that I'm finishing, because freedom is on the other side of the things that you're too scared to let go of, because who would you be without them? Now, you don't know. So this is why I use one of my quotes. I say, most people have simply become comfortable in their own discomfort.
That's right.
And if you really get that, it is a crying shame to your potential as a human being, because what you're saying is, I'm resigned to the fact that I'm not fill in the blank, right? Enough. I'm not pretty enough, young enough, thin enough, smart enough, wealthy enough. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. It is a negation of our own potential. But to me, we are beings of pure possibility. But we look through a lens that is self-created, that itself is limiting. And if you see the conflict between those two things, so I appeal to our limitless nature, our soul, our being, whatever you want to call it, not the manufactured, conditioned idea of yourself. So the real work is through awareness, noticing, wow, is it true that I'm a failure? Is it true that I'm not enough? Is it true that nobody loves me? These aren't truths. It might feel that way. You may have evidence from your history, but it's not actually who you are. And so that's the work, is to be able to recognize, wow, where am I berating myself? Where am I finding limitation? Where am I saying there's something wrong with myself? Versus accessing freedom on the other side of that. Who would I be without those constraints, is the way that I put it. And what that appeals to people is like, holy shit, I'd be totally free. Now, you might not know what to do, you know, because your inadequacies drive your behaviors and your actions, but you might not actually know who you would be, which is the scary part. But it is the up-leveling. It is the increase of frequency and resonance to be like, wow, what would my experience of myself and my life be in the absence of these self-deprecating thoughts about myself? And it gives rise to an entirely new experience of what it means to be who you are, how you relate to other people, and the kind of life that you manifest. And that's why I get so passionate about this, because I'm like, I hate to be the one to break it to you. There's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
And the number of people that will try and defend, they will let, no, you don't know me. I'm like, I do. I know you better than you know you.
I love that so much. And to all of that, because so I have 99% women who follow, really fall in the 35 to 60 age group.
All right.
And a lot
love my ladies.
Middle age. I know they love you too. And I just want to, you know, because I started Goodbye CropTalk as a place where just to empower women in midlife and say, look, your life's not over. It's just beginning, really.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And exactly to your point, there's nothing wrong with you.
No.
Just because, and whether you're 50 or 40 or 20 or 60, it's never too late. And you can probably validate that with the number of clients you've had. But I think, you know, people just talk about when you said earlier, people just throw in the towel and go, well, I'm just going to be okay with the fact that I'm not really that okay. But it's never, ever too late. Like,
and I would
it took me a really long time, you know.
I would, you know, not to get too esoteric and interrupt, but even when you categorize someone as I'm middle-aged, I'd say that's inaccurate, because what you're pointing to is our human form, right? So think about somebody like a Jay Leno. I've never used that guy's in any of my lives, but it came to mind because I know he loves cars, right? So think about how many, the guy has like 3 hangars at Santa Monica Airport, I think, full of cars. The guy literally has hundreds of cars. But date to, you know, probably something that's relatively recent, like maybe a new Lamborghini, to something that's like, you know, whenever they first invented like a Chevy, you know, like he's probably got some of these real classics. So relative to their form, the physical form, it looks like they're a certain age. But relative to their ability to perform, they're as good as new. Right? So now if you can make that distinction. So to me, I'm a 50-year-old dude who's playing tennis with kids out of college, and I'm as fast, if not faster, than some of them. So wait, am I 50 with a 8% body fat, you know, or biologically, am I still like a 20-something? Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. And that's, that's why I say midlife and this, because
in bunny ears.
in bunny ears. I say midlife and bunny ears because it's just irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, I'm 52. I'm going, you know, and
yeah, let's go.
I don't feel 52. I'm like, my life is starting. I can't wait for 60. And I do put the work in, Peter. I mean, it took me a long time to get there, but you don't just wake up and go, woohoo, you know, because
no, you got to take care of the equipment, but that's why I use cars as a metaphor, right? So
that's
my point
perfect
is,
metaphor. Perfect.
It is about understanding, because honestly, you could meet a 20-year-old right now who didn't take care of their BMW, you know, because of drugs and abuse and no sleep and eating freaking shitty fast food and sodas and whatever.
Yeah.
So they have biologically the age of a 60-year-old, or they look like crap and they can't, like, they don't have cognitive skills, versus somebody who's 50 or 60 who took care of their equipment and they're super vital. So really why I'm saying it is to point to your beautiful audience who may have some of the narratives that are a little bit self-woe and feelings of inadequacy.
I have feelings of inadequacy in the technical world. Okay, there we go.
That's fine. Something exciting for you to work on.
I'm back. Okay.
So it's really about going back to how we started this conversation about perception. Are you identifying with this meat suit, or are you identifying with the essence of who you are? Right? Meaning, and it's such a powerful, but it's such a profound way to relocate. Am I my human self, which for sure is an extension, or am I really the essence of my being, which is unbound? And if we continue to sort of stay with that childlike energy, then to me, there is why people are like, oh my God, you have so much fun. Why are you such a fool? And, you know, it's because I'm still in touch with the essence of what it is to be a curious human being who is fascinated by this dimension of planet Earth. And I love to connect and I love to share and I love to explore. That energy is irrelevant to my biological age.
I love that.
But it informs the vitality of my biology. Versus if I think, oh my God, you know, I'm 50, I've probably got another 20 years. You know, I'm suddenly going to put myself in a fucking depression. You know, it's like,
I know. And
it's like, no, I got 100 more years to go.
You know, I talked to my dad. I know. My dad is 83. He's amazing. He is a retired physician, Vietnam War veteran, accomplished poet, now published.
Amazing.
For 3 Pushcart Awards. You know, so he's just this perfect example of there's life after life after life after life.
It is perpetual, yeah.
He's amazing. And I said last night, I was FaceTiming, I said, I'm so mad at you, Dad. And he said, why? I said, because you completely warped my perception of what age is, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I'm
yes, of course,
happy
playful way.
That because I go 80, that's not that old. 70, whatever. I got 70, I got 80. It's just like, I don't know. I just don't think of it that way. Because he's so young. And
I work with so many athletes, and I give this metaphor because people can relate to it, right? Like, meaning the invisible ceilings that we create for ourselves. If I gave one of my athletes, let's say, you know, they're big dudes, 2 30-pound dumbbells or 35-pound dumbbells, and I ask them to do, like, you know, 5 curls, they'll be like, wait, what? Like, yeah, that's easy. They can do that, right? But then I give them like these 2, like, 50-pound dumbbells, and I say, okay, I want you to do 12. And they're like, okay, this is a little harder. So they get to 8, and then they start to lose their form. They're arching their back. And then they get to like 11 and 12, but they finish, right? Now, totally different scenario. I give them the 50-pound dumbbells again, which are really heavy. I say, I want you to give me 50 bicep curls. They might look at me like I'm smoking crack. Like, I'm not going to get to 50. I said, well, do what you can. they will blow through 12 because it was never a ceiling that got established, right? They might only go to 18 or 19, but it was the paradigm of the language that we use that created this illusion of some sort of limitation, right? So using that metaphor, it helps me go, okay, what am I saying about my own perceived limitation that isn't actually a truth, but because I say it and I believe myself, that's what confines me. So that's the investigation during this period, is like, okay, what am I saying about myself, or what is possible that actually isn't a truth, but I subscribe to it because I keep saying it and I keep believing it. And worse still, I'm convincing other people of it. Yeah. You know, oh, you'll never do that. That's not possible. And I'm like, the expression I use, when people tell you what's not possible and that your dreams aren't possible, have sympathy for them, because it's their own limitations they're revealing, not yours.
That's right. I tell my kids that all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just be careful with what you're telling yourself is and isn't possible.
Yes.
Because it's all a crock of shit.
Yeah, the mind is powerful, and that's something I learned late in life as well. I mean, it is is what you tell yourself is, it changes the course of everything. The awareness, you know, that manifestation is real, you know, and that, you know, what you put out in this world, you do genuinely get back. And
I love language, as you know, and words, and so I sort of consider myself somewhat poetic, especially in the way that I write. I say that language is the wardrobe for the soul.
That's so good. I'm stealing that with your name attached. But
yes, absolutely, attribution. Otherwise, I will start judging.
I always give attribute. I always give credit where credit's due.
I'm kidding. Thank you. No, so what it points to is, if you imagine the soul is boundless, but the words that we use will create the definition of what becomes possible. So be careful with the words that you choose.
So good. Okay.
Yes.
We have about 8 minutes.
Okay.
And
down.
I really, a couple of things. I really want you to talk about your course. And let me just say, everybody, I have no dog in the fight here. It's just, this is my friend who's greatly helped me. And I'm excited to do the course as well. So I'm going to be doing it, but I want you to, could you just give a couple minute overview on the course?
Sure.
What people can get from that, how they can sign up, and all that good news.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it's called Free Your Mind. It's just on my website, PeterCrone.com. And the whole premise being to free yourself from the constraints of the mind that we've been talking about today. So why I am proud of what we've created is because there's two main components. There's the insights, which is where I speak to some of the things we're talking about today, meaning it's just me speaking about some of the distinctions. What is the ego? How does the mind work? Why do we get ourselves in trouble? But the other part that I really love, that I think is so powerful, is I get to work with 4 people who, you know, through their own courage, braved their reveal of their own woes and troubles, and I helped them to navigate why do they have these issues. From a gay guy who came out to his dad when he was 24 on the phone, and his dad said, "You're going to hell," you know, and how he had to process that, to a kid who left his family from the East Coast, who had his dreams and came to LA, but his family kept putting pressure on him, saying, you know, what are you doing? You're a failure. So he had these aspirational dreams, and his family kept trying to encourage him to come home and live this very traditional life, and the difficulty of conflict there. So you get to witness these 4 people go through this arc with me to discover freedom on the other side of their own constraints. And why I love it is because you're not that person, but the very issues they're talking about, everybody can relate to. So they're the 2 main parts. Then there is a third bonus part where we've done a conference call, which has been so fun, where I address people's personal questions. And we just did one. It was so successful that we just set up another one that I think is now on the 26th of April. So if you were interested in the course, you could get on that before the 26th. So they're the 3 main parts. But it's been so, for me, so humbling. You know, I really, as I said at the beginning, I'm such a soft Sally, and I really love to make a difference in people's lives. And so to hear all of this feedback and the breakthroughs from people who've had anxiety for years, woman had psoriasis for years, did the course and it's gone. You know, it's like relationship woes, being able to reconcile some of these past hurts and be completely free of historical trauma and see new possibilities. It's so, so flattering. Yeah.
Well, earlier in the conversation, you said, "Hey, I'm not special. I'm just a whatever." And I know what you meant by that. Like, you're not trying to toot your own horn, but I think you're special, and I think you're
Thank you.
amazing. And
Thank you.
you know, Maya Angelou said it best. One of my favorite quotes for years and years is, "When you learn, teach, and when you get, give." And I am trying to make this platform a place where I can share what helps me. So as I learn that I can help teach through bringing you here and people that I love and respect and are making a great difference in the world. So I'm really honored that you agreed to talk to me today. And I have 10 zillion more questions. And maybe as we kind of get some of the CropTalk followers and myself getting through the course, and maybe we can do another
I would love
Q&A.
that. We can talk specifically to what people got out of it. That would be really fun.
Yeah, and I'm starting, I made a special Monday live exception for you, but I'm starting my Thursday lives called CropTalk. And
I love that.
yeah, so I would love to have you on one of those. And I've got Alyssa coming up, and I'm with Lauren now every Wednesday live. And
amazing.
You know, it's interesting, this tribe, you know, these people.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, some people say they don't like the word humbling, but I just can't think of another word that I feel, you know, like I told Lauren Roxborough, who I just, you know, she's an angel on earth. So are you. So is Alyssa, that like, you feel like you're doing something right. You know? That's what being in here with you today, it just makes me feel like I'm doing something right, you know, that I can sit and have this beautiful conversation with you. So thank you so much.
No, it means the world to me. I love you. And
I love you too.
Connected with you as soon as we met at Goop. And I could tell that you're a special soul who's got a big heart, wants to make a difference. And so it's an honor to be here. And I hope that people listening got something from this. And to your point at the end about giving, you know, it's something that we sometimes take for granted, which is, I feel as a human being, we have this natural desire to want to make a difference, you know, and it becomes quite a challenge when we think that we are inadequate, you know, because then we feel, well, who am I to make a difference? But even the subtlest thing, you look at a child who brings a flower, even if it's wilted, it is the energy of the intention that we receive, not the quality of the form.
So true. Yes.
You know, and so I think for people to recognize that, one, we all have the capacity to make a difference in someone's day, even if we acknowledge the way that they look today, or, you know, the fact that they held a door open for you. And on the flip side, which oftentimes people struggle with, is let people give to you too, you know, because I'm blessed in ways that I can't even describe, because I'm constantly making a difference in people's lives. I wake up every morning to hundreds of messages of thanks and gratitude. And yet what I realize is, for me to let someone also contribute to my life is going to afford them the same sense of fulfillment. And sometimes we struggle to let people contribute to us because we don't feel worthy. Yes. And why it is so important to recognize the reciprocal nature of giving itself, which is we are all here to make a difference. And sometimes the biggest difference you can make in life is to let someone make a difference in yours.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, my day's better because I spent my morning with you, and I'm going to put the link to the course in my bio too.
Okay.
So you can click and go sign up there, and I'll put lots of my stories about it. You are a gift. You are special. I feel lucky. And
let's do it again
soon. And I'm saving this. I'm going to put this up in my IGTV, so it will be there for everyone to watch.
Amazing. And hopefully people will share and people will get something and we can up level together, because I do feel this is a time, I don't want to be dramatic, but I do feel this is a time where our tribe of people who genuinely care, who love, who want to make a difference, do have a responsibility to unite. And so that we are, you know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right?
Yes.
So let's come together in love. And I do believe that love and kindness will prevail.
It will. We'll talk soon.
All right, madam. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.